Diane was responsible for Florence's death. There were many things that I did talk about in the book.
Mary Wilson, a co-founding member of the Supremes, has died aged 76.
In the luminescent tapestry of Motown's golden era, few threads shimmer as vividly as the legacy of the Supremes, a group that redefined the sound of their time and left an indelible mark on the soul of music. At the heart of this iconic ensemble was Mary Wilson, a founding member whose voice and vision helped propel the Supremes into the stratosphere of musical legend. Yet beneath the glittering surface of chart-topping hits and glamorous performances lay a tumultuous saga of ambition, rivalry, and unspoken tensions that would eventually lead to one of the most talked-about feuds in music history. Interestingly, the narrative of the Supremes is incomplete without delving into the complex relationship between Mary Wilson and Diana Ross, a bond that went between sisterly camaraderie and bitter contention. The roots of their discord are tangled in the very fabric of their rise to stardom, where dreams and aspirations often collide with the harsh realities of fame. As the group ascended to unprecedented heights, the dynamics within shifted, casting a shadow on friendships that once seemed unbreakable. Through their relationship, we gain insight into how Mary Wilson's passing was more than what the public was told, raising questions about Diana Ross's association with her death. Let us embark on a journey through the life and legacy of Mary Wilson to delve into the layers of her story, from the triumphant highs to the tragic lows and the enduring mystery of her relationship with Diana Ross.
But the money represented how I would be treated and my status in this situation. All the plans had been made for the tour, and I was the last person that they called.
The saga of the Supremes, one of Motown's most illustrious acts, is a tale woven within the threads of unparalleled success and the undercurrents of internal discord. At the inception of this legendary group, Mary Wilson, alongside Diana Ross and Florence Ballard, embarked on a journey that would forever alter the landscape of American music. However, the path to stardom was fraught with challenges that extended beyond the competitive music industry, seeping into the very core of their relationships. In the early days, the Supremes were a cohesive unit bound by a shared dream of achieving musical greatness. Their ascent from humble beginnings in Detroit to the pinnacle of global fame was marked by a series of hit singles that catapulted them into the spotlight. Yet as their star rose, so did the stakes, and the dynamics within the group began to shift. The controversy that would come to define much of the Supremes' legacy was rooted in the growing prominence of Diana Ross within the group, a development that was both a testament to her talent and a source of contention. The decision by Motown's founder Berry Gordy to position Diana Ross as the lead singer and the eventual face of the Supremes was met with mixed reactions. While it proved to be a commercially successful strategy, it also sowed the seeds of discord among the members. Mary Wilson, who had been an integral part of the group's formation and early success, found herself grappling with the changing dynamics. The shift in focus towards Ross was not just a professional adjustment, but also a personal challenge, as it tested the bonds of friendship and loyalty that had initially united them. The controversy was further fueled by the media and public speculation, which often painted a picture of rivalry and jealousy within the group. These narratives, whether grounded in truth or amplified by the press, added layers of complexity to the relationships between the members. The tension was not merely about the allocation of lead vocals or the spotlight, it was emblematic of a broader struggle for recognition, respect, and autonomy within an industry that often pitted talented artists against each other. Moreover, the transformation of the Supremes into Diana Ross and the Supremes in 1967 marked a significant turning point.
Diane and I should have been there together, said, I'm ready to do this, you're ready to do it, let's do it.
Why didn't it happen that way?
She did not want to talk first. She wanted to do the business first.
This rebranding, while elevating Ross to greater heights of fame, also underscored the disparities within the group. Mary Wilson, once a co-equal member of a triumphant trio, found her contributions overshadowed by the burgeoning solo career of Ross. This period was characterized by a palpable sense of alienation and loss, as the original vision of the Supremes was gradually eclipsed by the ambitions and strategies of the music business. As the Supreme star ascended in the constellation of Motown legends, the dynamics within the group underwent a profound transformation, one that would sow the seeds of discord and controversy amidst their meteoric rise to fame. The period, marked by their string of hit singles such as Where Did Our Love Go and Stop in the Name of Love, was paradoxically both the zenith of their collective success and the genesis of a rift that would deepen with time. The crux of the controversy lay in the evolving relationship between Mary Wilson and Diana Ross, a relationship increasingly stained by the pressures of fame and the machinations of the music industry. As Diana Ross was positioned more prominently as the face and voice of the Supremes, the balance within the group began to tilt, leading to an environment ripe for conflict. This strategic focus on Ross was not merely a matter of branding, but a reflection of broader industry trends that favored individual stars over collective ensembles.
Why didn't it happen that way?
She did not want to talk first. She wanted to do the business first.
The tension was exacerbated by the group's grueling schedule, which included recording sessions, tours, and public appearances, leaving little room for personal grievances to be addressed or resolved. The relentless pace of their success, while exhilarating, also magnified the fissures within the group as each member grappled with the demands of their burgeoning careers and the shifting dynamics of their relationships with one another. Moreover, the controversy was not confined to the internal dynamics of the Supremes, but also influenced by external factors, including the media's portrayal of the group and the fans' perceptions. The narrative of rivalry and jealousy was a compelling storyline that captured the public's imagination, further entrenching the idea of discord within the group. This public narrative, whether accurate or not, added an additional layer of complexity to the situation as the members of the Supremes had to navigate not only their personal relationships but also the perceptions and expectations of their audience. Interestingly, the controversies surrounding the Supremes were reflective of broader societal tensions of the 1960s, a time of significant cultural and societal upheaval. The challenges faced by the group, from issues of representation and identity to the pressures of conforming to industry standards, mirrored the struggles of the era. The Supremes, in many ways, became a microcosm of the larger societal debates taking place, with their music and their story resonating with audiences who were navigating similar issues of change and conflict. The crescendo of the Supreme saga reached its peak amidst a backdrop of soaring fame and intensifying internal discord, particularly between Mary Wilson and Diana Ross. This chapter of their story is marked by incidents that not only highlighted the depth of their rift, but also became emblematic of the tumultuous relationship that had developed between them. One such incident emblematic of their strained relations occurred during the Motown 25th anniversary special, where the world witnessed the palpable tension between Ross and Wilson playing out on a very public stage. This period in the Supremes' history is characterized by a series of confrontations and disagreements that were not just personal in nature, but were also influenced by the strategic decisions made by Motown's management. The decision to rename the group Diana Ross and the Supremes in '67 was a turning point that crystallized the hierarchy within the group, placing Ross at the forefront and relegating Wilson and other members to the background. This rebranding was not merely symbolic, but had tangible implications for the group's dynamics, exacerbating the existing tensions and contributing to a sense of alienation among the members. On August 5, 2000, Barbara Walters, the esteemed broadcast journalist, was at her desk in ABC News' Times Square headquarters when her mobile phone buzzed. On the other end was Diana Ross, the legendary Motown singer often rumored to be a diva among divas. In a composed yet firm tone, Ross addressed Walters. The previous night, ABC's 2020 News magazine had aired an interview with Mary Wilson, Ross's former bandmate from the Supremes. Wilson had expressed her discontent, holding Ross responsible for thwarting plans of a potential Supremes comeback tour. Expressing disappointment rather than anger, Ross sought to clarify the situation. "It saddens me," Ross told Walters during a hastily arranged interview that aired that evening. "The first thing Wilson said when I called her about a reunion was, 'What took you so long? I feel like even if we offered her everything, she wouldn't have been satisfied.'" Ross then empathetically mentioned Wilson's struggles, presumably referring to a tragic driving accident in January '94 where Wilson sustained severe injuries and lost her 14-year-old son, Raphael. "She's been through a lot of pain," Ross continued. "It seems like she's directing it at me. I can sense a lot of unhappiness coming from her." Wilson, who passed away suddenly at the age of 76, indeed appeared dissatisfied during her conversation with ABC. She alleged that her former bandmate had negotiated a deal where Ross would receive $15 to $20 million for a Supremes tour, while Wilson would only get $2 million, maybe $3. Cindy Birdsong, the other surviving vocalist, would, according to Wilson, receive even less. There's something about Diana, Wilson remarked, she wants everything for herself. In the realm of pop feuds, none were quite as complex as the turbulent relationship between Mary Wilson and Diana Ross. They were the founding members and the most prominent figures in the Supremes, the Motown girl group that outsold the Beatles but eventually became overshadowed by Ross's solo aspirations. Wilson's perspective, as detailed in her 1986 memoir Dream Girl, My Life as a Supreme, portrayed Ross as both deeply insecure and relentlessly ambitious. According to Wilson, as soon as the Supremes began to achieve success, Ross sought to position herself above Wilson and Florence Ballard, the third member of the classic lineup. Wilson suggested that there were no limits to what Ross wouldn't do. Just before going on stage, Ross, who initially performed under her birth name Diane, would quickly change costumes to ensure she stood out from Wilson and Ballard. During television appearances, she often positioned herself apart from the other two or even placed herself between them and the camera. Then there was her relationship with Motown founder Berry Gordy, which began shortly before his '67 decision to rename the group Diana Ross and the Supremes. Diana always liked to be the center of attention, said Wilson while promoting her book. If you happened to be in her way while she was heading toward the center, that was your fault. But Wilson didn't stop at mere mudslinging. She delved deeper, diagnosing Ross as tragically insecure. Her haughtiness was just a facade, Wilson wrote of Ross, whom she first met when Ross and her family moved into the same public housing block in Detroit. Deep down, she believed she wasn't as pretty as the other girls. She craved attention, and in her pursuit of it, she could appear almost ruthless, Wilson continued. Sometimes she would throw a childish tantrum, then moments later pretend it was all a big joke, that she was just being silly. Her bluntness could be unsettling and feelings were often hurt. We interpreted Diane's actions as thoughtlessness. What was already a toxic relationship took a further nosedive when early on in the Supremes' journey, Ross allegedly attempted to seduce Wilson's then boyfriend. At least that's what Wilson claimed in her book. Most of the time, it was easy to overlook Diane's behavior, but things took a different turn when she decided she could borrow my boyfriend as easily as she borrowed my clothes. Diane had a tendency to covet anything that belonged to anyone else, and as we grew older, those things sometimes included men. Over the years, I began to wonder which came first. Did other girls treat her badly, forcing her to prove herself, or was her drive to compete against them so evident that they couldn't help but dislike her? The bitterness seemed to flow mostly in one direction. Perhaps that was because from the moment Ross and Wilson began singing together in the late 50s, Ross had her sights set on bigger things. Who has time for feuds when there's a whole world waiting to be conquered? The seeds of ambition were planted early on. While still in school, Ross, Wilson, and Ballard persuaded local pop luminary Smokey Robinson to arrange an audition with Berry Gordy and Motown in 1960. Though Gordy wasn't overly impressed initially, he saw potential. He advised the trio to return after they had finished school. However, at Ross's insistence, they began frequenting the Motown studios, eventually persuading Gordy to let them contribute hand claps and backing vocals to sessions. Impressed by their determination as much as their talent, Gordy signed Ross, Wilson, and Ballard in '61. The only condition was that they would have to change their name from the Primettes to one of his choosing. He didn't explain that by owning the name, he would essentially own the group as well, a fact they would only discover later when they realized he was pocketing most of their profits. Gordy presented several options. Ballard chose the Supremes despite Ross's objections that it sounded too masculine. Their first 6 singles failed to make an impact. However, in 1963, they struck gold with the top 20 hit When the Love Light Starts Shining Through His Eyes, penned by the hit-making songwriting team of Holland Dozier Holland. 2 years later, Ross had transitioned to being called Diana instead of Diane, and Gordy, often likened to the Mike Bassett, England manager of the 60s soul pop moguls, had effectively promoted her to lead singer. Her ambition was already beginning to outgrow the Supremes. Quote, to Diane, there was only one line of separation, you were either rich or poor, remarked Carolyn Gill, a singer with Supremes label mates, the Velvelettes, as quoted in Mark Rabowski's 2008 book, The Supremes, a saga of Motown dreams, success, and betrayal. She always made it clear she wanted no part of being poor. With Gordy showering attention on his lover Ross, Ballard spiraled into alcoholism. In 1967, Motown replaced her with Cindy Birdsong. Bereft and isolated, Ballard's decline hastened. She tragically passed away from a blood clot in '76 at the age of 32.
It seemed like I was always under pressure from Barry. I remember we were in Canada.
Ross finally departed from the Supremes in 1970, leaving Wilson Birdsong and new member Jean Terrell to continue, first as the New Supremes and later as the 70s Supremes. Without their charismatic frontwoman, they gradually faded into obscurity. It's tempting to conclude that Wilson would never forgive Diana for what she might have perceived as a betrayal. All the bitterness poured out in Wilson's 1986 memoir, The Anger, may have been exacerbated by Ross's refusal to participate in the book. Quote, "At that point, I honestly believe that Diane thought I might be capitalizing on her," Wilson remarked while promoting Dreamgirl. "She probably doesn't know how I feel. She probably thinks I resent her success." Ross's success after leaving the Supremes makes it easy to paint her as a sharp-elbowed go-getter. However, some suggest that Wilson may have glossed over her friend and rival's kinder side. Quote, "Dreamgirl slams at Ross all but guaranteed a bestseller that widened the gap between Ross and the other Supremes dating back to the 60s, wrote Hrabowski. But if that was a savvy business decision, portraying Wilson as a living martyr to Ross's scheming may not be entirely accurate or fair. Wilson conveniently omitted from her memories that when she faced financial trouble in the early 80s, Diana loaned her a substantial amount of money. Wilson's resentment toward Ross might have been fueled by Henry Krieger and Tom Ian's 1981 Broadway musical Dreamgirls, a thinly disguised retelling of the Supreme story that focused on the Ross character. This resentment continued with the '06 movie adaptation, with Beyonce Knowles portraying the Ross figure as initially shy but gradually growing into superstardom. The Wilson character, played by the lesser-known Annika Noni Rose, is depicted as good-natured yet naive in contrast. Ultimately, it may have just been a tale of two strong personalities destined not to get along. Ego, ambition, and stardom, mix them all together and it's a foolproof formula for bad blood. Quote, "When you navigate the journey with those two, sometimes you just want to scream." Former Supremes manager Shelley Berger described the Wilson-Ross relationship to Hrabowski. Quote, "I love them both dearly and both of them fired me. All the drama comes with the territory and they both have their own territory. The controversies that unfolded were not confined to the realm of professional rivalry but were also deeply personal. Reports of disagreements over wardrobe choices, song selections, and performance styles were symptomatic of the broader power struggles within the group. These conflicts were not merely about artistic differences but were reflective of a struggle for recognition, respect, and autonomy within a group that had once prided itself on its unity and cohesion. Moreover, the narrative of the feud between Wilson and Ross was further complicated by the involvement of the external parties, including the media, fans, and other Motown artists. The public's fascination with the drama added fuel to the fire, with each incident being scrutinized and magnified, often taking on a life of its own. This external attention not only intensified the pressure on the group, but also shaped the legacy of their relationship, casting it within the archetypal framework of a tragic rivalry. The legacy of the Supremes, and particularly the relationship between Wilson and Ross, became a cautionary tale of the pitfalls of fame, the fragility of friendship in the face of ambition, and the complex interplay between personal and professional identities in the public eye. In the twilight years of the Supreme story, the narrative took a poignant turn as Mary Wilson sought to bridge the chasm that had widened between herself and Diana Ross.
Diana, all this must be very painful for you.
Actually makes me quite sad, because I do think that we need to answer some of these things that are really not correct.
Wilson's efforts to mend fences with Ross were not merely attempts at personal reconciliation, but also a desire to heal a rift that had become part of the Supremes' legacy. These endeavors were underscored by a profound sense of urgency as the passage of time lent a pressing weight to the need for closure. The attempts at reconciliation were marked by moments of vulnerability and openness as Wilson reached out to Ross in various ways, seeking to rekindle a connection that had once been the foundation of their shared dreams. However, the path to reconciliation was fraught with challenges as decades of distance, differences, and the deep scars of past conflicts presented formidable barriers. The dynamic of their relationship, complicated by the layers of history and the public narratives that had taken root over the years, made the prospect of reconciliation a complex endeavor. The specter of what might have been haunts the legacy of the Supremes, leaving a poignant question mark at the end of a chapter that was never fully disclosed. Moreover, the attempts of reconciliation and the ultimate lack of resolution serve as a reflective mirror for the broader themes of change, loss, and the passage of time. The story of Wilson and Ross in their later years becomes a meditation on the complexities of human relationships, the enduring impact of history, and the ways in which we seek to make peace with the past.
You know, I really didn't want to get into the numbers of the tour. I did not negotiate with her.
Actually, you did not do the negotiating?
No, I did not. I was planning to do my own promotional tour.
In the aftermath of Mary Wilson's untimely departure, the world turned its gaze towards Diana Ross, seeking her response to the loss of her former bandmate and one-time friend. Ross's public statements in the wake of Wilson's passing were not just mere condolences, but carried the weight of decades of history, unspoken words, and the complex tapestry of their shared experiences. Her comments were scrutinized for signs of reconciliation, regret, or acknowledgement of the tumultuous past that had long defined the narrative surrounding the Supremes. Ross's reaction to Wilson's death was poignant, reflecting a mix of personal loss and public acknowledgement of Wilson's significant contributions to music and culture. Her statements were carefully crafted, balancing the need to honor Wilson's legacy while navigating the undercurrents of their past conflicts. This delicate dance between personal sentiment and public persona underscored the enduring complexity of the relationship, even in its posthumous phase. The public's reception of Ross's comments was mixed, with some viewing her words as a heartfelt tribute to a former colleague and friend, while others interpreted them through the lens of the historical tensions between the two. This divergence in perception highlighted the challenges of public reconciliation and the ways in which personal relationships are often complicated by public narratives and expectations. Moreover, Ross's response to Wilson's passing served as a catalyst for a broader reflection on the legacy of the Supremes and the indelible mark they left on the music industry and popular culture. It prompted a reevaluation of the narratives that had long defined the group, encouraging a more nuanced understanding of the complexities of their relationships, both personal and professional. The controversy surrounding Ross's comments and the public's reaction to them also shed light on the broader themes of legacy, memory, and the ways in which we seek to make sense of the past. The discourse that emerged in the wake of Wilson's death was not just about the personal dynamics between Ross and Wilson, but also about the collective memory of the Supremes and their place in history. The controversies that once embroiled their partnership, marked by moments of discord and rivalry, have now settled into a more reflective narrative, inviting a deeper understanding of their journey and its significance within the broader tapestry of cultural history. The legacy of Wilson in particular is multifaceted, embodying not only her contributions as a founding member of the Supremes, but also her role as a custodian of their history. Her efforts to document and share the group's story through memoirs and public appearances were acts of preservation, ensuring that the nuances of their experiences were not lost to time.
When we became famous, it was like a cultural phenomena for 3 black women to become superstars. You couldn't even drink out of public water fountains because you were black.
Their story, with all its highs and lows, continues to captivate audiences, serving as a mirror to the societal changes and cultural dialogues that have unfolded in the years since their heyday. The legacy of the Supremes, and particularly the narrative surrounding Wilson and Ross, is a poignant reminder of the power of music to transcend personal differences and connect individuals across the divides of time and experience. The legacy of the Supremes, enriched by the controversies and complexities of Wilson and Ross's relationship, offers a compelling exploration of the interplay between fame and humanity. It is a narrative that continues to captivate and enlighten, reminding us of the enduring power of music to reflect the deepest truths of our shared human journey. It is a legacy that celebrates the triumphs of their musical achievements while acknowledging the human complexities that underpin their journey. As the curtain falls on the tumultuous and triumphant saga of the Supremes, the echoes of their legacy resonate with a profound complexity that transcends the realm of music. The journey of Wilson and Ross, from the heights of fame to the valleys of personal strife, underscores the complex interplay between public personas and private realities. Their story is a testament to the resilience required to navigate the vicissitudes of fame, the quest for artistic identity, and the pursuit of personal fulfillment amidst the glare of the spotlight. One person wrote, quote, "I do feel sorry for Mary now. She was a founding and serving member of one of the most successful female groups of of all time. Mary deserved more recognition for a reunion tour. Another one added, the difficulty Diana mentions is why Mary wanted fairness. It was Mary who kept the group alive financially after Diana left, and Barry gave up on them to focus on Diana's career. Mary lost most of her money because she invested it into the Supremes with not much return. Moreover, the unresolved aspects of their relationship, particularly in the wake of Wilson's passing, leave us with a reflective consideration of the opportunities for reconciliation that go unseized. The narrative of their controversies, while marked by moments of discord, also holds within it the potential for healing and understanding. It is a reminder that behind the veneer of celebrity, artists grapple with the same dilemmas of connection, forgiveness, and the search for meaning that define the human experience.